Aloha and welcome to Kokua Council's meeting with Duke Aiona and Junior Tupai, candidates for the offices of Hawaii's governor and lieutenant governor, respectively. We appreciate their willingness to meet with us. I'm Lila Mower, president of Kokua Council, one of Hawaii's oldest advocacy organizations with over 800 members and affiliates. Kokua Council's mission is to advocate, inform, and educate to improve the laws and policies which impact our community. Kokua Council's directors are volunteers, watchdogs, and advocates, each dedicated to making our community better and each active within many other community-minded organizations. Let's begin with a total of 4 minutes for Duke Aiona and Junior Tupai to introduce themselves. Please go ahead, candidates.
Aloha, my name is Duke Aiona. I am a resident of the state of Hawaii. This is my third try at the office of governor, and we're very hopeful that this will be we'll get elected on this time. We hope we get enough votes. That's what happened the last 2 times. Born and raised, as I mentioned, here in Hawaii, went to school at St. Louis, and then graduated from the University of Pacific. Attended at that point in time, it was called the University of Hawaii Law School. It is now called the William S. Richardson School of Law. Clerked for the Honorable Judge Wendell Huddy, went on to the prosecutor's office, Department of Corporation Counsel, then was appointed at a very young age to the family court bench, served there for about 2.5 years, and then got appointed to the circuit court bench, nominated by Governor John Waihee, served for about 6.5, 7 years, and then was a per diem judge in family court for about another 2 years. I ran for office in 2002 for the office of lieutenant governor. I got elected with Governor Linda Lingle, served for 2 terms, and then ran again in 2010 and 2012 for the office of governor. I now have 8 grandchildren, which I'm very, 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 very proud of and very happy to be with. And it took a lot for me to leave that relationship that I've established with them over the last 8 years, but I did it. And here I am. I've been married for 41 years. I have 4 children and have basically been doing pretty much what I wanted to do the last 8 years. It's kind of like semi-retirement. And the best thing besides my grandchildren and my wife and my family is the fact that I was golfing about 3 times a week, and that was fabulous for me. But anyway, here I am, and I'm really looking forward to being the next governor of the state of Hawaii. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Junior Tupai, candidate for lieutenant governor. I currently pastor a church in Panayava in the Big Island. I've been there on staff since 2016. Before that, I was working at the Hawaii National Guard Youth Challenge Academy as an instructor for 14 cycles, helped from the inception at the old prison in Kulani. Then we moved down to KMR. At the same time, was coaching football for Hilo High School 9 seasons. I have my undergraduate and graduate studies degrees from Washington State University. I actually went there to play football. My goal was to go to the NFL. Ended up that I realized I didn't love football. I just liked it. And the graduate program, they're actually offering me a scholarship to get my master's, and I took that. So I just saw the need in the community, and I put my name on the ballot. And whether as a coach, as an instructor, as a pastor, lieutenant governor, these are just titles that show the jurisdiction that you serve. And in the end, I get a bigger broom, a bigger shovel to serve more people. Mahalos.
Mahalo. Kokua Council's directors will each pose a question, and the candidates will have a combined total of 4 minutes to respond to each question. I'll start with the first question. When the Hawaii Supreme Court reversed the judgment of the Circuit Court last month in State versus Richard Obrero, it opened the possibility that over 100 offenders involved in serious felony cases like murder, arson, kidnapping, robbery, drug trafficking, domestic violence, and sexual assault may be released. What is your position regarding this decision? Should the legislature amend Hawaii Revised Statute Section 801-1, and if so, how?
The Supreme Court was very clear on that, and Lord knows what went into their decision making. As you know, I'm a former judge, served on the trial level, not on the appellate level. And of course, the appellate judges have their reasoning for for every decision that they make. I think you were very clear, like I said, in regards to what needed to be done. It really is an easy fix. All they have to do is amend the statute and or repeal the statute. They can do either one. If they repeal the statute, that constitutional amendment, I believe that was enacted in 1982, will then be the authority in regards to how the prosecutors can charge these types of offenses. I do know one thing, Lila, and that is that it needs to be done immediately. The prosecutors are doing what they can right now. The judiciary is doing what they can right now, but they're getting challenged, as you well know. And I really believe that what I saw very recently in regards to these motions and what the judges have done, I believe the defendants have a very, very good case, a strong case in regards to Rule 12G, I believe that they're enacting right now in extending the time period to 90 days. So this is something that, the legislature can do this like within a couple of days. They're trying to say that they're working on a bill. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but all I know is that they had very clear direction from the Supreme Court, and it needs to be done now.
Thank you. Junior, do you want to add to that?
No, I think Duke stated our position. I will tack on a little bit Article 1, Section 2 of our state constitution, that all persons are free by nature and equal in their inherent and inalienable rights. Among these rights are the enjoyment of life. And what Duke stated our position, that people need to enjoy life, and that this needs to be amended quickly for the safety of the people. A lot of people are seeing this around the state, and so yeah, we need to fix this quickly. Yes.
Mahalo.
Okay, so thank you. Our Kūpuna care workforce shortages have resulted in care facility closures around the island and an increase in unpaid, untrained family members caring for their loved ones. Our workforce cannot afford to live in Hawaii. How can your administration help with this crisis? Thank you.
I just recently, I don't want to say I got thrown into a situation as a caregiver, but the circumstances unfolded that it happened right after the primary. My cousin's caretaker passed away, and I was the next in line, I guess, and got thrown into that role as a caretaker. Luckily for us, housing is not a problem for them. Housing is manageable. But one of the things that I'm advocating right now in regards to our Hawaii homeownership solution is for to really increase the amount of inventory that we have in what we're calling tenant-owned buildings. And this isn't particularly related to our kupuna. A lot of our kupuna are in state-run facilities that are rentals. I want to convert that to tenant-owned buildings so that they own the building, and as such, they don't have to worry about rent. They don't have to worry about when that lease ends, and thus they have to renegotiate for that, and it can keep them safe and secure. When it comes to caregivers and how we can help them, obviously, if funding is there to help them and there's a need for that, I obviously would look into that. But I think more importantly, what we can do is we can look at some of the what we can do maybe from a tax standpoint in regards to either tax exemptions and or tax credits, so that we can assist with the services that they provide. Like I said, right now I'm providing that kind of care. I'm fortunate that the person that I'm taking care of, my cousin, has a home to stay in. There is some source of income for her. She is fully covered under Medicare, and that helps a lot. But there are a lot of other services that don't cover her and that I need to take care of. And for example, just helping her with her hygiene and her cleaning and transportation and things of that nature. It takes time. It takes some funds, but really it's about being there as quickly as I can, because there are some instances in which it was sort of an emergency where I needed to be there, but I couldn't get there right away. So luckily for me, I did have that network of people that could help. I think there's a lot of services out there that people are unaware of in regards to care services. So obviously better education in regards to what is out there and what's available to people such as me. So in addition to that, obviously speaking to people like you, getting your input in regards to what can and can't be done and how we best can serve this community going into the future. Because as we know, we are a graying community. I'm there myself. I'm 67, my sister's 80, my brother's 86. Luckily, we have a good network that we can help in helping each other.
Junior, would you like to add to that?
No, sir.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Thanks very much to both of you for taking our questions. Here's my question. In your view, does the state of Hawaii have the authority to make public health mandates such as quarantines, lockdowns, masking, and vaccinations? If yes, what are the thresholds you would use? And if not, why not?
Very good question. A lot of people are very frustrated by what happened over the last 2.5, 3 years. And in direct response to your question, obviously there is authority if you invoke an emergency situation. From my perspective, the emergency proclamation issued by the governor, for as long as it was done, from my perspective, I know it was challenged. Whether or not it was unconstitutional, that's for the courts to decide. I feel like it was just a little prolonged, and it didn't help the public at all. I would not have done it in the same way that Governor Ige had done it. I'm not sure that I would have immediately declared a state of emergency and then quarantined the entire state, shut down tourism and shut down businesses. But I do know this, that after a while, after maybe about a few months, we had a better grasp of what this virus was all about, how it affected the people, who was most vulnerable, what our mitigating factors were. I thought we could have done a lot more in regards to treatment. I was learning more from outside sources than I was learning from the sources here in Hawaii in regards to what we could have done with treatment. All of those things were on the table. And as a result of that, we didn't have to have the mandates and the shutdowns and the quarantines for, I know for a fact, as long as we had them. I know for a fact that as wide and as broad as it was. And so I would have done it a lot differently, like I said. I think what happened in this situation is that because of what occurred, the people of Hawaii lost a lot of trust and respect for not only the governor, but a lot of the people who were involved in the decision-making regarding these policies. And right now, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a lot of frustration out there. You're seeing a lot of people now who are very hesitant in regards to listening to anything that's being put out in regards to public health. And it's a result of what transpired over the last 2.5, 3 years here in Hawaii. Across the country, when you had different policies and people saw that, it only made things worse. And so, again, in response to your question, Doug, I think, again, was it constitutional? Was there authority to do what the governor did? I believe there was. Should it have been as long? No, it shouldn't have been. Did the legislature make the changes that they needed to make in regards to the emergency powers of the governor? No, I don't think they did a very good job of that. I think it's still available to the governor to extend this emergency proclamation for as long as he did in this instance. But I know for a fact that I wouldn't have done that. And it'd be a very, very, very rare situation in which I would also have followed what he did in regards to the length of emergency proclamations, one after another, after another, after another. So emergency proclamations are something that are very, very, how can I put it, should be rarely used. It is a tool that's a very powerful tool for the governor and the executive branch. And that's something that you obviously look at very carefully. And after much discussion and much thought, do you invoke it? Thank you for the question. I just want, I know you're going to ask Junior if he has anything to say. Let me just add this. I think Junior's a great team player. He understands that the executive, that executive emergency power is reserved for the governor, unless he's the governor. And if he's the governor, because I left the state, or unless I'm not available because of whether it's a health reason or I'm just incapable of performing my services, I would come back.
5 seconds.
I wouldn't leave the state. But go ahead, Junior. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, I'm
Sorry,
good.
sorry.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, aloha to both of you, and thank you very much for taking the time to answer our questions. My question is, a very large population of the state of Hawaii lives in condominiums and townhouses, and there's a serious epidemic of issues negatively impacting homeowners. These are often caused by mismanaged associations that are not in compliance with state laws. Unfortunately, there is no real enforcement of the very laws the state legislature enacts within HRS 514B. Even the basic right to vote at annual elections has unfair restrictions due to requirements to be physically present and not allowing mail-in ballots. If elected, what will you do to help address this very serious epidemic and ensure state laws are complied with?
Can I get a clarification on that, Greg? You're talking about the homeowners associations, correct, for the various condos?
Correct.
And so when you say not being able to vote by ballot, is that you're talking about state statute, or are you talking about the condo association rules and bylaws?
So the condo association governing documents typically state that, but 514B also has provisions in there. There's a proxy allowance,
Right,
and the boards tend to take the proxy votes by people who don't attend the meetings.
right.
So there's a problem where you can't actually mail in. I couldn't mail in a ballot. I have to go to the roof or give my proxy to someone.
Oh, well, the reason I asked that is because I'm also a condo owner. I own a condo that I rent out, and I didn't come across that problem. So that's why I wanted clarification on that. But obviously, if there is that, and I don't doubt what you're saying. This is something obviously that I don't know why there hasn't been better communication, I guess it is, between the condo associations throughout the state and the legislature in fixing this problem. I would definitely meet with all of you, and of course, as you well know, one of the biggest tools that a governor has is the power to convene. And to convene a meeting of all stakeholders in regards to this, including legislators, would be something that I could easily do for all of us so we can clear this up and get this straightened. Because like I said, that's why I asked that question. I got to admit, I'm not very active in my association, in the governance of it. So I'm pretty much what you just stated. I'm more of a proxy type of, I guess you could say, owner. I send in my proxy, but I know that I've always had the opportunity by ballot to vote according to what's on the agenda. But if that's the discrepancy, I don't see how it can't be fixed, by the legislature. Obviously, as you know, I can't legislate. I can use my position to help persuade and to give my position on various issues. And I always believe that, as governor, like I said, the power to convene is a great tool, and it's something that, and legislators have that same, that same power and that same tool also. But I think if you have it coming from the top with the governor, as well as with the legislators, things should be able to get done. And this is why I'm talking about competition, right? So when I talk about a two-party system, I'm talking about this type of competition that we can have. And we want to be that competition, myself and Junior. And I think when you have us now at that table with you, and we have some people who are maybe see it in a different perspective, we can be a little bit more persuasive in regards to what we want to get across to the legislators. I know one thing: it'll be more transparent. It'll be on the table, and obviously, everyone will see what's being discussed, and it won't be able to be hidden in maybe a conference committee or and tabled in some other committee and saying, well, the bill just died, and so sorry, try again next year. I think that's the frustration that you're feeling.
Thank you.
Oh, aloha. Thank you for giving us some of your valuable time.
No, you're welcome, Dale.
Excellent question. Hey, we're told our state's recent issues with bribery charges are just the beginning of much deeper issues. What are your thoughts on this claim, and how does your administration plan to deal with accountability to recover and regain public trust?
Unfortunately, Dale, it's something that, any type of relationship you have, as you well know, is built upon trust, as you just mentioned. And it takes a while to build that trust. And when that trust is broken, it really, in a lot of cases, it creates a big divide. I think that's where we're at right now. From my perspective, Dale, I really believe that what we're seeing right now with corruption in our government is a result of one party dominance. Some may say, no, it's not true, but look, let's just be honest about it. When you have that type of dominance in the legislature and you feel you are entitled to the position that you are at, whether it be as a chair of a committee or in leadership, or just being elected because you are a Democrat, it leads to that type of attitude that, hey, I'm entitled to do whatever I want to do and when I want to do it. Likewise with those who have been contributing, and likewise with those who have been appointed, you're seeing a lot of that surfacing to the coming to the surface right now in regards to the Department of Planning and Permitting in the city and county of Honolulu and elsewhere in other counties. And that's all the result of, like I said, this entitlement that you have. So one way for me to bring back that trust is to really to have that robust two-party system that we should have. And that's why I'm saying in electing myself and Junior Tupai as governor, lieutenant governor, would be a huge statement by the people of Hawaii that we've had enough. And when we're going around the state right now, we're campaigning. That's exactly what we're hearing. We're hearing that we've had enough. We have to change. We're voting for you. And that's coming from Democrats and of course Republicans, but more so from more Democrats than I've ever heard in the other two elections that I had in 2010 and 2014. In regards to holding them accountable, obviously, for me, it's the stiffest penalty that we can have. Do we need to increase that? Dale, I'm not a believer that you can legislate morality or ethics, or you can legislate behavior. But if that's going to get their attention, by all means, if we got to up it to a Class B or even a Class A felony, and as you well know, a Class A felony means mandatory jail time, then I'm all for it. Let's do it. Anybody who's in government that gets caught with involved in fraud or corruption in campaign spending, yeah, I'm all for a Class A felony, and you go to jail, directly to jail. So I have no problems with that. If that will change things or make people more accountable or make them more, how can I put it, just more aware of what they're doing. But if you're a true public servant, Dale, I don't know why we need to have more ethics classes or stiffer laws. I mean, you should understand what your role is as a public servant, And that's where I believe the disconnect is also. And this is why I think term limits, sunshine law, things of that nature will be a great support or a great thing to add to what we need to do to hold our legislators more accountable. You can't have term limits for those who are appointed, in county government or state government. But if you increase maybe the penalty of that, maybe that will hold them more accountable. But the bottom line again is, I believe a robust two-party system where you bring in this competition that I talked about will make things better. We all know that businesses get better, organizations get better when you have competition, and this is why we want to be that competition for government in the state of Hawaii.
Thank you.
Helen, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Can you?
Okay, I didn't know if Junior wanted to add to that. Okay. Recently, the last remaining coal-fired electric plant in Hawaii was taken off of the grid at the time when oil was at its highest cost and inflation is at an all-time high, a perfect storm which increased our cost of living disproportionately, impacting the kupuna and others on limited incomes. What will you do if elected to address this most urgent situation? Would you consider bringing the coal-fired plant back online until there is a clear path and solution to the goals established in Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative?
Thank you for that question, Helen. A good question. I've already answered that question. Would I bring back coal? My response was no. I thought what this was it was a highlight. It highlighted that the fact that the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative and the goals that they have set for 100% renewable by the year 2045 is unrealistic. I'm not against renewables. I'm not against a zero carbon footprint. What I'm saying is that the path to the goals that we're setting are just as important. In other words, what Hawaiian Electric wasn't ready for this transition, but they were pretty, and it's not all, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're not at fault, but it was the PUC that kind of put them in this corner and put them in this situation where they had to close down, not had to, but they chose to close down this coal plant when they just weren't ready for that transition. I said, my proposal is to have other options out there. I'm in support of liquefied natural gas to be a transition source of energy. That's not as cheap as coal, but it's cheaper than fossil fuel. It also has a less impact on carbon emissions. And I don't know why so many people are against it. Again, it would be a transition energy source. It would be until we can get to that goal that we say we want to get to. But until that happens, we can't leave what the options that are available off the table. It has to be on the table. Because once again, as you just mentioned, the bottom line for many of us, and I'm not saying that none of us are in favor of renewable sources of energy. In fact, I think everybody is in the state of Hawaii. The problem is that our energy prices have not come down. And the people who are in support of renewables can't give us a guarantee that it's going to come down. All they say is, it'll come down, it'll come down, it'll come down. The only way that I know it comes down is if you're wealthy enough to have a solar system on your rooftop with batteries included so that you can totally go off the grid and therefore be totally dependent on your sources of energy. If not, then yeah, energy is still expensive for us. We're still the highest in the nation, triple the average of what we have across America. I believe across America, the average is 15 cents a kilowatt hour. Here in Hawaii, we're spending now upwards to 48 cents a kilowatt hour. And so it doesn't help, like you said, people who are living paycheck to paycheck. And so my efforts on that are going to be to provide as many options as we have so that prices don't go down. At the very most, they stay status quo. Secondly, that if we do transition out of anything, that we're ready for it, but also to just be more realistic in the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative. It's not just about, again, developing renewable energy. It's about being more efficient also. So more education in regards to how we can be efficient, whether it's changing out light bulbs, appliances, etc., and making that a part of what we need to do and making that more available and maybe giving more credits on that, as well as, with rooftop solar, etc. I know one proposal is to have solar condominiums. So a lot of our kupuna who live, I should say, in townhomes and condominiums that aren't allowed to have rooftop solar may now, through this effort, through condominium solars, be able to bring down their energy costs because now they'll have that available to them. And if we can go one step further on the condo solar systems, we can have batteries as a part of it, and that could totally take them off the grid. And that can help a lot of our seniors who are currently, like I said, living in apartments and in condos. Thank you, Rick.
Junior, did you want to add something?
No, Helen, I think Duke encapsulated it. I think the biggest thing for us is just to move at the speed of innovation. Make sure we have the capacity and the metrics to actually, produce for the general public.
Thank you. Governor Ige recently put a halt to private-public partnership plans to develop the Aloha Stadium area without providing details of his plan going forward. $400 million was set aside for this project, which at times included, besides a stadium, a commercial entertainment district and affordable housing. What are your priorities regarding this large parcel in Hawaii?
I'm a little taken aback by what occurred because I just had a discussion with the people at the stadium authority, and my understanding is that even if they were to follow through with what Governor Ige wants to do, a couple of things. First and foremost, it sets the project back and building of the stadium for at least a year or 2 years. Secondly, they would not be able to build a stadium, even if it was just a bare bones stadium for the amount that was appropriated by the legislature. So why this was done, I'm not sure. I also was able to get a briefing on regards to what they have planned in the entertainment area. I thought it was a great plan. I think it has a good mix of commercial use as well as housing. They showed me various iterations of it in regards to if we had 10,000 units there or 4,000 units there. And I can tell you that if it was completely housing, and in this case, they're calling it affordable housing, and that's another issue, but they're calling it affordable housing. I can tell you that the visuals on that are not very good. It's like a dense, how can I put it, New York, in this small little area if there were 10,000 units. On top of that, it would exceed the tallest buildings that we currently have here in Honolulu. So I'm not sure if it should be all affordable. In fact, I probably wouldn't be in favor of that. But I do believe that should be mixed use. I believe that it could be a great area for commercial expansion, whether that be in technology or whatever we want to do in that area. The fact that rail runs right through it could be another great advantage to that area, the way it's designed right now. Whether or not a stadium will go there will be dependent from my perspective. My perspective is that I think that the University of Hawaii should have a standalone stadium on campus. I am not sure if the University of Hawaii would be able to build one that would be of a quality nature that could really impact their program at 20,000 to maybe 25,000 seats. I'm not sure if they can do that. And if they can't do that, then obviously the only thing left is to build where it's currently being proposed to build. I think the plan that they have is very doable. I think the public-private partnership is the way to go if you're going to go that route, simply because, as we all know, when the state builds something, if anybody on this call can tell me when we were on time and on budget on these big capital projects, let me know which ones they were, because it'd be very difficult for that to happen with the stadium, because that would be a huge capital improvement project that we would have. But the plans as they have it right now, which we're ready to go, from what I saw and what I was briefed on, seem to be all in line with what we would probably need and can do in that area. So I'm aboard if I do more review and more review and research on it when I get into office. But right now, like I said, my preference would be to build a stadium on the UH campus for the University of Hawaii, standalone stadium, if that can be done and they can get a quality stadium with it. If not, then I think we're stuck with what we have in regards to what has been proposed on that parcel. And also in the entertainment area also, I would be in favor of what they have proposed there. I don't know if I would increase the housing any more than what they have proposed right now, which is about 4,000. I know I wouldn't just make it purely housing without any stadium or any commercial use.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. I'm Barbara, and I do appreciate both of you coming today. Junior, did you have anything to add?
No, Barbara.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Barbara.
I also get the next question.
Oh, okay.
Tourism represents roughly a quarter of Hawaii's economy. The military accounts for 8.5% of Hawaii's gross domestic product. Today, less than 1% of the state budget is committed to agriculture. The top three employment sectors after tourism and the military are healthcare and social assistance, retail, trade, and professional, scientific, and technical services. Hawaii's largest employer, as I'm sure you're aware, is our state government. What is your thought on this, and what would your administration like to see happen?
I want to focus on our small businesses. I want it to be local. I want it to be where our local residents, our local business people thrive. They just went through 3.5 years of just frustration and just hurt. And it pains, I think, everybody in the state to see what occurred in regards to our local businesses and what they went through. So first of all, I want to focus in on that. I want to make sure that, first of all, I don't impose any more regulations and fees and taxes that are going to be a burden to them. So legislature will be on notice that I'm not going to sign anything that does that. I want to also make sure that the rest of the country as well as the world knows that we're open for business, that Hawaii is a good place to do business. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to have to improve first and foremost on our educational system, but we're also going to have to improve and make much better, our cost of living here. And this is why housing is such an important point for us in our administration. The Hawaii homeownership solution, which is something that I have been talking about for the last month and a half, is going to be first and foremost, where we basically focus our real estate market on the local market and we tie it into local wages. To me, that's the solution. There's much more to get into on that. I don't have enough time right now to get into that. But in regards to your question, how we can do that. So if we open it up to business, I know more and more people now who are working here remotely, because that seems to be one of the benefits of COVID. We found out that we can work remotely. And I want to invite people to come here and work remotely. But to do that, obviously, we have to take care of our cost of living with our homes, with our energy, and of course, with education. Open up that technology sector. If we need to advance and improve on our infrastructure, let's focus on that also. Make sure we can do that. Now with agriculture, there's going to have to be a change in the model in how we deal with our farmers. I don't know if any of you know Peter Savio, but Peter Savio has implemented a model in regards to farming. And what he's done is he's scaled down the acreage for a lot of our farmers. So our farmers are able to be able to farm on smaller acreages, but they're also able to live on those farms. And he has a really great model on how to do that. He's done about, I think about maybe over 100 lots in Wailua. He's got another one in central Oahu. He's moving out to the neighbor islands. And I think what that does, obviously, it keeps us not only keeping our food local, helping us to be more sustainable, but it helps our restaurants also to expand upon, what they're serving and to use these local farmers. If we can export things, then great, let's do that. But once we get it more local and we get it into our markets at a very affordable price, I think this is how we build up our agricultural industry. Again, not looking to give away too many subsidies, but also trying to, again, reviewing our tax credits and our tax exemptions to make sure that they're related to economic benefit. That's something that I don't think we've done in a long time. Looking at our tax schedules also to see how we can make adjustments so everybody can prosper from it, not only individuals, but our businesses also. But I think first and foremost, if you just have a better attitude and a better environment in regards to business, that Hawaii is really open to business. We welcome businesses. We want businesses to thrive. We're not going to overregulate. We're not going to overtax. We want to come into a good environment. I think that opens up a whole new leg. I don't know if we'll ever have that opportunity for a brand new leg. Of course, people have talked about the film industry. They've talked about aerospace like I have. Thank you, Rick. Of course, those are areas that I think we can look into and expand upon.
Thank you. Junior?
Mahalo.
No, that was perfect. I'm good.
Mahalo, we're nearing the end of our forum. So candidates, you may have up to a total of 4 minutes to make your closing remarks.
I'll let Junior go first, since, I don't want you to think that he's just acquiescence to everything that I said, but I will say this, Junior understands what it means to be a team. We've already talked about our roles and what I will help him with in regards to, how I was treated when I got elected with Governor Lingle. So Junior, you go first.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for the opportunity. I think JFK said it best. Let us not seek a Republican answer or a Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our responsibility for the future. And for me, I just saw it as a responsibility to put my name on the ballot and to give the people another option, which I believe is a viable option, the Aiona Tupai option. And so I'm very fortunate and blessed to have Duke as a running mate, and I look forward to moving forward with this. But thank you again for the opportunity.
This campaign has been a very unique campaign for me. Like I said, this is my third time, but I've never been in this environment in the other two elections, and the environment being that I haven't seen as much frustration with the people of Hawaii than I'm seeing today. A lot of the voters out there are not voting because they feel like their vote's not going to count. that you're going to get the same old, and that's not my words, that's their words. That the status quo will remain. And we've been going through great pains, myself and Junior, to convince these people that they need to vote. If they are frustrated by what occurred in the last 2.5 years, the lockdowns, the quarantines, their friends passing away, and they're not being able to go in the hospital to say goodbye or to have a celebration of life when they passed away. If they're tired with the inflation that we have at the gas pumps and in the grocery stores, and yeah, I agree. It's time to vote, and this is why you vote, because your elected representatives make those policies and they make those laws for you. And the only way it's going to change is if you vote. So to the 500,000 people who didn't vote in the primary, my message to you is please get out there and vote. We don't have a democracy if only 40% of the people are voting, which means that only 20% of the registered voters are deciding who your next elected representative is. We can make the difference. This is all about us, the people, saying what we want, doing what we want, and having it done. So thank you again to Kokua Council for this opportunity. Thank you for all of those who are listening to this and are going to be watching this. And we humbly ask for your vote in the next 3 weeks. Mahalo.
Mahalo to Aiona and Junior Tupai for taking our questions and spending your valuable time with us. We invite you and the audience to join Kokua Council on Monday, November 14th, when we host our annual forum to discuss legislative priorities for next year. Mahalo to all who participated today. Malama pono, aloha.
Ahuio.
Aloha.